You've implemented the ViewModel UI controller architecture for GameFragment. Let's see about our other two fragments, score and title. Both fragments are pretty simple. The title fragment doesn't really contain any dynamic data, and the score fragment just contains the score. Now you could make an argument to either not add ViewModels for these fragments, or hold off until it's more necessary, since both are so simple. But since the score fragment does have some dynamic code, I'm going to have you convert the score fragment to the new architecture. You'll also use this as an example of how to pass information into ViewModels. The score fragment has some information that it does show, the score here, and it also has one navigation event that is triggered when you click that Play Again button. There's one challenge with the score fragment, and that is that you get the score data passed in from this arguments bundle. You want to display this immediately, so this should probably be given to the ViewModel when it's initialized. Now there are two ways to do this. One is to make a setter for the score variable in the ViewModel, and then to call it from onCreateView in the score fragment. The other is to add a constructor for the ViewModel. Adding a constructor for the ViewModel requires a few extra steps. After all, you don't manually construct the ViewModel providers does. But in some cases, you'll need to be able to pass in data to ViewModels on initialization. And in this case, it is cleaner. You always want score ViewModel to start with a score. The general idea is that you'll create a class known as a ViewModel factory. Factories are classes that know how to instantiate objects. Therefore, our ViewModel factory is a class that knows how to create ViewModels. This is all a reference to the factory design pattern, which I've added some details about in the notes. To accomplish this particular task, though, you only need to know that ViewModel factories create ViewModels. So we'll create a ViewModel factory to create the score ViewModel. This is the way that you can affect what parameters get passed into the score ViewModel. Here are the steps. First, you'll create the score ViewModel, including the score as a constructor parameter. Then, you'll make a ViewModel factory class. Then, in that ViewModel factory class, you'll define a create method. The create method is what calls the score ViewModels constructor. And finally, we'll add the ViewModel factory to the call to ViewModel providers. So first things first, I'm going to go over here and make a score ViewModel class. Make sure to put in the same package as your score fragment, the score package. So now I'll make the actual score ViewModel class, making sure to extend ViewModel, and I'll add a constructor parameter here for the final score. So I'm going to be calling that final score. I'll also go ahead and make an init block here. And in this init block, I'm just going to go ahead and put a log statement. And as part of this log statement, I'll just output the final score. You're going to write the rest of this code for the score ViewModel as a later part of the exercise, but right now we're just focusing on getting a parameter passed in through the constructor here. Now I'm going to go ahead and make another class, again in the score package, called score ViewModel factory. And this class, score ViewModel factory, is what's going to know how to create our score ViewModel. There's a fair amount of code, so I'm just going to copy it over. Notice how the score ViewModel factory extends ViewModelProvider.factory. That's what makes this a ViewModel factory. It has a constructor parameter, final score. Inside of this, I'm overriding one method, the create method. This method is called when the ViewModel is created, and it's supposed to return a ViewModel. Here, you see that I am creating a score ViewModel and passing in the final score that I got here. And then I return this new score ViewModel. Now let's go back to the score fragment and actually use both the score ViewModel factory and the score ViewModel. At the top of this class, I'm going to create two new fields. The first is going to be the ViewModel field, and the second will be the ViewModel factory. Down in onCreateView, I'm going to go ahead and construct a ViewModel factory. I need to pass in that final score, so I'm going to go ahead and copy the argument here, and I no longer need this toString at the end, so I can just pass in the score. And then I'm going to get a reference to my ViewModel in the normal way. At this point, I have a score ViewModel factory, and this factory knows how to construct score ViewModels. And I've passed in the final score here. So the last very important step is to change one thing about the call to ViewModel providers. I will go over here, and I'm going to actually pass in my ViewModel factory. And I'll go ahead and put this on the next line just so we can see all of this. By passing in this, I'm telling ViewModel providers to use this factory to create my score ViewModel. What this means is that it will use the score ViewModel's create method to actually make the ViewModel. And the score ViewModel's create method knows how to create a score ViewModel with a final score. The final score, which was passed in here. All right, let's run the code. Now if everything happened correctly, I should be able to play my game and wait the 10 seconds for this game to be over. I'll make sure I have a score. It says 10 here. And then once I see the score fragment, I should be able to go over here and see that the log statement actually does print out the correct final score. So I'm not going to lie, making a constructor for ViewModels is a bit tricky, but sometimes you'll absolutely need to do this. Adding the constructor here is not 100% necessary. You could pass in the score using a setter, but sometimes you need a value right when the ViewModel is initialized. Cool. Now you know how to make a constructor for a ViewModel so that you can pass some data in when the ViewModel is created. Go ahead and implement the rest of Score ViewModel by moving over the Score field to the ViewModel, and implementing a live data event for when the Play Again button is pressed.